Good morning. I would like to take this opportunity to say I'm once again coming to you with information updating the citizen in the town of Littleton. But first, I would like to talk about a dear friend here. And that dear friend we lost here a few weeks ago, and that was Robert Edwin Stetson. And he was a very dear friend to me. He was a Masonic brother. He was a brother in Christ. He was just a great individual that served the town of Littleton. He was the secretary when I was the chair on the COA board. And we together was able to accomplish by putting in a grant for the first brand new COA van that was used to transport the citizen here in Littleton. And he certainly is going to be missed. Bob was a great person, and I really appreciate his fellowship there. I would like to take this time to take a brief silent moment in respect to him. Okay, thank you very much. Now I would like to take the opportunity to bring you up to date because within the last 2 days, I have been very busy in conversations with town officials, the developer, with regards to the two articles that is on the warrant. And I had a 2-hour meeting yesterday with the chair of the select board, Selectman Mark Rambacher, and the vice chair of the select board, Ms. Karen Morrison. It was very productive. We was able to accomplish things and find out things that I would like to bring you abreast to with regards to the two articles, Article 12 and Article 13. The good news is either today or at least by Monday, I was informed by the two that they're going to pull Article 13 on the warrant, which means that it will remain on the warrant, but there'll be no action taken on it. On Article 12, it's a little bit different. There's going to be impending modification to that article. And there's 4 parts to the article that the select board is concerned about. However, there's only one section that is crucial at this time to the selectmen that we passed at the town meeting on May the 6th. That section is section 4. And in your town warrant, it is on page 31. I don't know exactly how the wording going to be modified in section 4, but it is the item that needs to get passed by 2/3 votes, and I'm encouraging you, the voters and taxpayers at the May 6th town meeting to vote and pass this particular article. That is going to be the first article in not the first article, the first vote in Article 12. It's going to be Section 4. It's going to stand alone by itself to be voted. Now you have Section 1, 2, and 3. It's not important that we pass those 3 sections there. So I encourage you to vote down the second vote, which consists of those 3 sections. As a matter of fact, the chairman said, we don't really need it at this time. So I'm not concerned about it. So they're working with the town council for an amendment which is going to show the changes, how Article 12 is going to be changed up and how there's going to be a 2-part vote on it. The first vote is the key vote, which is Section 4. That is the one that I'm throwing support behind and emphasis to you to vote for Section 4 in Article 12. The reason being is that they have gotten word from our representative, Mr. Jim Maserio, and he's telling them, if you can get that Section 4 passed and craft the legislation of that Section 4 and get it to him by October of this year, he's saying that I can get it on the calendar for the new session of the legislature, which starts in January of 2026. He also gives the town great hope that whatever committees that this legislation has to pass through, that it is more likely that it can be passed within a year. That is good news. Previous information you've heard from town officials saying it can be anywhere between, 18 to 36 months. Now our representative is telling it, and I'm assuming that he has spoke with chairmen on various committees that this legislation would have to pass through, and letting them know how vital this piece of legislation coming from the town of Littleton in terms of working with the developer here. And I would hope that it would be passed within a year. And that way the town will have the position in place that based upon the developer, however many number of housing units that he's going to build here in Littleton, that they be able to count the deep affordable housing, which would be 40 units, against the allocation of the developer, 10% that he has to provide to the town of Littleton based on the total number of units. An example, if he has 1,000 units, then that's 100 available affordable housing units that the town will receive. And from that, there's been talk previously that spoke about, the town doesn't want to have the seniors with senior deep affordable housing. Let me tell you, that is the furthest from the truth if I ever heard anything said in this town. We love the seniors in this town, and we are always doing what we can for the seniors in this town. And the taxpayers and the voters are definitely not against doing for our seniors. So I want to squash that right now, that's not true. I don't care what anybody say. We may have opinions and we may agree, but we should be able to agree to disagree without any problem. And some may agree and some may disagree. But I said there's nowhere in there that taxpayers and voters don't want to do for our seniors. So I want to put a stop to that right now. Okay? What we're trying to do here is trying to get legislation in place, and I'll give you a little insight here, is trying to get legislation passed so that whenever the town come back and deal with the RFP and deal with now the current Article 13, but I don't know what it may be later, a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever the case may be, they are going to come in and talk about surplusing a piece of property so that the legislation that will be in place that gets passed, get approved by the state, then that means that the state is going to make funding available. I had a thought that perhaps we could start from the ground up. And after speaking with the developer, he explained to me how developers work with that and so forth. There's not enough money to the work credits or the grants or whatever coming from the state and the feds to complete a unit, say, put 40 units into this facility. It always requires more money to be put in to the project in order to complete it. And the developer tells me that, developers are not willing to go and put extra money in to complete because the money that they get from the state and the feds is based on the low totem pole, which is affordable housing. Affordable housing money comes in low. And that's why you can't start a project from the ground up and use the work credits, the grants, and so forth, and say be able to complete it. You need a facility. And he says, with a facility, a developer will probably just break even with the monies that they would receive from the work credits and also the grants or whatever from the state and the feds. That was news to me because I wasn't aware how that happens because I'm not a contractor, I'm not a builder. I don't know, I don't work in that industry. But it makes sense with what he's saying. Does that mean that the town is going to take and come up and put the money to finish? No. So that is why we get this legislation on 12 passed, get it into the state. Who knows? The way things are running right now with the federal government and so forth and so on, there's not a whole lot of money. They're putting a freeze on this and that and cutting this and doing everything you can think of. But at the same time, we can't stand still and not go forth and do things and try to use what we have available to us and accomplish things that we would like to do. Now, there are communities, from what I understand from the conversation that I had of the 2 hours yesterday with the chair and the vice chair of the select board, there are communities around. I think in Hudson, I think the chair said to me that there was some like 30 sponsors that was taking an old police station or something and knocking it out and so forth and adding houses there. But they had like 30 sponsors to do that. So you can sort of kind of see that you need a lot of money when you start talking about building these type of facilities there. So that is the thing that's important to me, that on the 6th of May, that we vote for this Section 4 in Article 12 and pass it by 2/3 vote. The second vote, which consists of, as I said earlier, Section 1, 2, and 3, they're not interested in the 1, 2, and 3. So the second vote, we can just vote it down and not worry about it and get this legislation crafted and get it over to Mr. Cirio by October so he can get it on the calendar. And when the new section starts in January of 26, that it gets to moving, and hopefully within a year, it will get passed. So that portion of the element will be in place for a developer now to find another developer and a nonprofit organization so that they can submit that and get going by putting the shovel in the ground and breaking ground and start on building 40 units of deep, affordable senior housing for Littleton. That is the latest piece of information that I have as of yesterday. Now I will go one step further and give you a little bit more information that's coming in soon. And that is, I spoke, this is 5 pages here of information that I had sent out to our town officials, town administrator, select board, FinCom, the planning, and also to LEW/Sewer Commission, and also to Mr. Sal and Napoleon, and told them what my thoughts and my opinion were with regards to Article 12 and Article 13. So it got the attention of town officials, and it got the attention of Mr. Sal Laporte. He sent me an email and said that he would like to speak to me. I sent him an email back and told him when was a good time. And he called me. And we spoke on the phone about almost an hour and a half about Littleton. And from here on, I'll refer to Mr. Sal Laporte as Sal. He is very concerned because his reputation means a lot to him, and everybody's reputation means a lot to you. He wants to have a very good rapport with the citizens here in the town of Littleton. And I think that's a good thing. The more information you have available as a voter and a taxpayer, that is how you're going to know a lot more about what's going on in the town of Littleton. As I told him and told others, to include the town administrator, Littleton has a lot of smart people in this town. And make no mistake about that. We have a lot of smart people in this town. And I'm appreciative that Littleton is defined, in my opinion, such a fine community. We've been on the national scale about the school, about the town being a good place to raise a family, so forth and so on. We've got different awards with the electrical to the light and water department that are recognized by the federal government and so forth and so on. So Littleton have a lot of employees that does a fantastic job in representing the town of Littleton and providing service to the resident of the town of Littleton. So Mr. Sal asked me, George, put on your thinking cap. How can we, do things, get into the room, make sure that, concerns that people have, that they have, answers to the questions, so forth and so on. So I had mentioned to him about I do the Straight Talk TV show. He said, well, that's great, And I spoke to the two chairs yesterday, the vice chair and the chairman, and they said, George, we think that would be a great idea that you could get Sal to come on the TV show, and he sort of kind of tell the resident, how his project is going to blossom in the town of Littleton down the road. So I thought that was a great idea that, he was willing to come, because he told me, George, I'm willing to do anything to include, having public hearings, which that would be something that would be lined up with the planning board to have some public hearings, and not public hearings, but have some public meetings where that people could come and ask whatever questions they wanted to about the project and so forth. He has ideas as to where certain things is going to be on that parcel up there of 855, and also the 884 there, the 410. So all that is good for us as voters, taxpayers, and the resident of Littleton, as to how Littleton is going to be looking in the near future. That's important. So I think that's a good opportunity for him to come and tell us, and first start off with my TV show, and then from there he goes to have some public meetings with the planning board, and have you to come out and talk about so forth and so on. It's like the Archer meeting that they had here in the library. I think, I don't know, maybe about 70 people maybe showed up there. I mean, it was a good crowd there, asking questions, so forth and so on. So I think that we probably could do it in the great room. By that time, maybe we might be able to do it in the new senior, in the great room, which would be in the new senior, well, not senior, but they call it the center on Shattuck Street, that the planning board could hold that there, and people come out and have a little refreshment and so forth. And I think that's good that he's willing to come and to do that, because he says, listen, I want to have a good pull with the citizens of Littleton. And so far I've had that, and I would like to keep them abreast as to really what's going on. So the chairman yesterday, Mr. Monk Rembacher, he said to me, he said, George, I think, a good time to do that, have Sal come on your TV show is probably this August or September. So I said, okay, that sounds good to me. Because, listen, I'm not looking for nobody's job. I'm not looking for no job. I'm not looking to run for no office in the town of Littleton. I am concerned, I'm an advocate for seniors, taxpayers, and voters to know as much as they can about the horizon that's taking place in the town of Littleton, and to keep you abreast as to what's going on. I don't do this to put feathers in my hat. I don't do it to try to make an impression upon somebody. I'm not about that stuff. I am a straight talker, a straight shooter. I am about knowledge. Having knowledge is the great thing that we all can enjoy when we get information. I don't think that the town really puts in enough in trying to make you aware of what's going on and what's happened. Like I told him, talking about these two articles, Article 12 and Article 13, those two articles should have been kicked down the road 6, 7, 8 months ago, telling you what is what, and et cetera. Having meetings, getting you up to speed, knowing what's going on. They sort of kind of doing that with the Shaker Lane School, because they even having a section at the town meeting so that you can attend and sort of kind of find out what's the latest thing going on and perhaps ask questions for a period of time. I think it starts at 6 o'clock on the 6th of May in the cafeteria at the middle school. But it is town official responsibility to educate us on the various projects, and if they know what are the causes and how do we pay the bill, all that's important to you as a taxpayer because you're paying tax. So that's why I do what I do, because I want to do it, and because I think there are people that needs to know, because this is our money that operates this town. And we need to know where they can pay for something in budget or you got to go outside the budget. We know that the school is running somewhere around, I guess at this point in time, $100 million to build a new school down there. And then I understand that they're saying that they said they could use the sewer system that they have now, but I understand now they can't even use the sewer system now. So it may be a little bit high. But how much is the state going to give us? Well, the low ballpark of it is that, the state is going to give you whatever the state going to give you, right? But they're throwing the figure around because I asked the superintendent of school, and he says, I think it's somewhere around, 38%. But that's on the low totem pole as far as I'm concerned about the money that they're going to give to the town of Littleton. And the reason probably because, they cut the governor budget because she wanted to add taxes onto medication, prescriptions. And they says, Speaker of the House said, there's going to be no taxes. So they cut her budget. I think it was from 67 or 68 billion to 61. And believe it or not, under the Charlie Baker administration, they misspent on the opera money $2.1 billion. They just worked out a deal before we changed presidents to pay back over 10 years, and it's probably going to be somewhere around about $3 billion, I guess, with the interest and penalties that they put on. They misspent that money knowing full well that they were not supposed to take that upper money and pay unemployment with. And that's what they did. So now we've having to make a payment, whether it's yearly, monthly, or whatever the deal is that was worked out. So that's money that's going out of the state budget, that's going back to the federal government, because we had some officials to misuse money, and now they're having to pay it back because the government is not letting them get away with that, and rightfully so. No. But can you imagine $3 billion being taken out of a budget over the next 10 years is money that we could be using to help do a lot of infrastructure and whatever in the cities and town here in the state of Massachusetts. But this is what happened. This is how things happen, and you know they don't tell you too much about it. You hear very little of. Most of you probably never heard of, and some of you probably have heard of it, that, you know, we got to pay that back over 10 years, which is probably going to be about $3 billion. They misspent $2.1 billion. That's bad, really. It's really bad. But getting back to the subject here, it's my objective and my goal to try to give you good information so that you'll be aware when you go to the voting booth or your clicker on matters at the town meeting. Those are the two items, the articles that I have been working on, finally got some attention and traction, and finally came up as to how this is going to work out, because the chair and the vice chair end up going to the town solicitor and says, tell us how we can get this passed. And the advice they came back, and you're going to retweak that section 4 in Article 12 and get it out. I will speak on the town floor once they get the new information as to how that amendment going to be for 12. I will speak on the town floor with further information with regards to this. And I think that it'll just be a minor change in there, but the fact that there's going to be 2 votes on Article 12 and Section 4 is the only key that we really need to be concerned about in passing by 2/3 votes. So I'm asking you as citizens here in the town to come out to the town meeting on May the 6th and vote for those 2 articles. Well, 1 article now, because the one Article 13 is going to be no action taken on it. That'll be down the road a year or 2 years, but they're going to be working and trying, is what they should have been doing all along, having meetings, public meetings, and telling us about what we need to do, how this needs to be done, to come up with this article for us to vote on it, and not come up the last minute and try to give us something and do it at the town meeting with maybe only 1 meeting with the public and so forth and so on. That's not right. That's not the way you do things. They should give us as much information and go into the town meeting with us having the consent calendar and the other few items there. We should pretty much know if there's anything that's going to be debatable on the floor. It should have been debated out here in the public months before it gets there where you have to vote on it. Not try to do it there. And that is the right way to do that. Because then they can make adjustment, do whatever need to be done, and so forth. And then when you go in there, very few people have concern about it because you've already vetted that article, and people have had their say and talk. Well, there's always going to be some people still going to have some say, but it won't be people lining up 20 deep or 30 deep to speak at the microphone about the article. We can always do a better business when we put the effort into the business to do it right. It goes over a lot smoother. There's one thing that I've always said and I learned a long time ago. Effective communication is 50% to the solution or the problem. So we need to keep the communication open. Because with effective communication, you can accomplish a lot. What I'm doing here right now is being effective with communication and telling you what's going down with these two articles with regards to the upcoming town meeting. And giving you as much insight in on the article as to what's going to take place and what's going to happen. I think all of you now in the town of Littleton has received the warrant here. So you can take your warrant and go and look at the articles there on Article 12, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Section 4 is going to be one vote that stands alone. Section 1, 2, and 3 is going to be the second vote. But according to the chair and the vice chair, we're not concerned about you passing Section 1, 2, and 3. You can vote it down. Vote no. They're only concerned about Section 4. As I said again, there's impending change that is coming to Article 12. The town council is working on that. When he get it, he's going to get it to the select board. And they're going to make that known. And the select chair said that he would give me a copy of that language on that Section 4. They do not anticipate a lot of change as to the way it reads right now. The only thing that I brought out in our conversation was that I felt that they needed to add deep affordable housing. The one word that I felt that they should add into that. So they taken note and said that they would pass that on to the town council, and they didn't foresee a problem because the whole thing is about affordable housing. This is what this article is about, going in and getting the work credits, getting any grants that they can and so forth. So it's about deep affordable housing. And to be able to count it against the allocation that the developer is required to give by providing 40 units of senior housing, deep, affordable senior housing. Ladies and gentlemen, I've given you the information that I have been working on the last 2 days. Well, actually 2 days and a half. I've been working very diligently trying to get the picture behind what's really working because I was against both of these articles. And as I told the chair and the vice chair yesterday, I said, well, something went off in your head here. Y'all got these changes. How did this come about? They said, oh, well, this was that, and that was this. And we decided, okay, let's get with the town council and let's do this and let's do that. You know the other question I asked him? I said, why was that? The vice chair said, because we need more time. And I raised my hand up like that and said, did the roof jump up and down there? That's what I've been saying. Things are being rushed. So now they tweaking this thing down and getting it where it's not all this stress that's been on it for the last, give or take, a month and a half. So now it's settled down. I feel a lot better. I'm in support with what they want to do with this Section 4. And I think it's good for the town of Littleton. If it wasn't, I would tell you so. When many of you are sleeping, I'm up thinking outside the box for the betterment of the town of Littleton and its citizens. That's who I am. I do it because I care, and I care in here. I care about people. With have said that, I want to thank you for always giving me the opportunity to come and speak to you and pass the word around. Tell people to look at LCTV. Go on demand and look at this program before the town meeting. I think it's very important for citizens to know as much as they can. And the other thing I want to tell you, by passing this article, there's no money that's going to come out of your pocket as a taxpayer or come out of the town as a taxpayer with Article 12, Section 4 being passed. That is to go to the legislature to try to generate and get some money of our taxpayers' money that's paid to the state and to the federal government with work credits and also with grants. So that's important that you know that. And having said that, you have yourself a good morning, a good day on Friday here. The weekend's coming up. And God bless each and every one of you here in the town of Littleton. And thank you.